It is as gut-wrenching as body cam footage gets. A brown teddy bear floats by as one officer dives into black chest-deep waters, desperately trying to get down to a basement apartment in Woodside, Queens, where a 2-year-old boy and his parents lived. The family of 3 never made it out alive. In Jamaica, Queens, more than 100 neighbors gathering to pray on 183rd Street, where a 43-year-old mom and her 22-year-old son drowned to death in their basement apartment.
Today, this community needs to be heard.
Community activists outraged at city officials, saying they believe this could have been prevented if construction on their street was done correctly years ago.
It is the fault of the city of New York who failed to do their job to make sure that these streets stop flooding. It's been flooding for more than 20 years.
Middle Village also still a mess. Barbara Martinez sharing these pictures with us of her home filled with black sewage water.
I don't know what to do. I have no hot water. I don't have a boiler. Thank goodness it's not winter. I have a smell that's worse than garbage on a 99-degree day, and I still have to live in my house.
The Queens homeowner says she's called 311 but has yet to hear back. Mayor de Blasio, meantime, releasing these pictures, saying he's meeting with city families devastated by the storm. He's expected to be in Queens again today.
We need financial assistance. We need to get back on our feet.
Governor Hochul now saying there is at least $50 million in damages. The massive price tag paving the way for the state to request federal funding by way of a major disaster declaration.
It gives funds for temporary housing assistance, crisis counseling, unemployment assistance, home repairs, and legal services.
That now making its way to President Biden's desk ahead of his expected visit to tour the devastation in New York and New Jersey tomorrow. Senator Chuck Schumer, meantime, renewing the call for Congress to pass the infrastructure and reconciliation bills. Schumer stressing how the 2 recent storms that slammed the tri-state emphasize the bill's importance, saying Congress needs to take action now to better prepare for climate change reshaping weather patterns.
All 50 states are affected, and that's why we need big, bold action.
All right, everybody, you saw part of this in Kayla's story there, but we wanted to show you the full picture. The New York City Police Department, NYPD, released videos showing some of the attempts made by officers on September 1st to reach a flooded basement apartment in Woodside, Queens, where 3 people, a toddler and 2 adults, died from drowning. 3 victims were identified by local media as a 2-year-old boy, a 48-year-old woman, and a 50-year-old man, all of Nepalese origin. Emergency services responded to numerous calls for help on September 1st as Storm Ida caused devastating flash flooding across New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut, killing dozens of people. At least 11 of those people were found in basements in New York City, the New York Times reported. The NYPD said officers arrived at the Woodside home following an unconfirmed report of people trapped in a flooded basement. The footage released just yesterday shows a hallway largely submerged and an NYPD officer diving downwards to try to gain access to the basement apartment. Police said rising water levels, a locked door, and live electricity forced the officers to put a stop to the efforts and call for help from the fire department, saying, quote, "Unfortunately, when specialized units arrived, they found 3 people died from drowning." Again, President Biden is expected to visit New York and New Jersey tomorrow. So it's devastating footage, everybody, that we continue to see. What once was Hurricane Ida made landfall in Louisiana and then continued to make her way up to the northeast. Again, people still recovering. Here's another Live Now vantage point look of New York, New York. We are going to continue on with your morning brief, the top stories that you want and need to know about as you start your day. A New York family rescued by boat during Ida flooding. Let's get their story.
When Chelsea Chapman tries to think about what happened Wednesday night,
Sorry.
well, there are no words.
How do you move on from this? I think you can't fall from the floor. Like, all you can do is pick yourself up. This is as bad as it gets.
Chelsea's home in Rye was destroyed by the rising floodwaters from Hurricane Ida. This single mom of 3 daughters lost everything.
I remember my head being underwater at some point, and we got upstairs, we shut the basement door, and then the basement door, I think, flew off and the water just came out. And then it got here, and my kids were screaming, "We have to leave the house." But I looked out, and there's probably 12 cars floating in the street.
Chelsea's first floor was almost completely underwater within minutes. Her daughter Felicity at one point trapped in the basement.
And then the water came in and she couldn't open the door.
Well, I was trying to open the door, but like the door was like stuck with water, so you just try to get out. That's all I could really do.
Felicity finally got that door open, and soon all four and a neighbor's three-legged dog made it to the second floor. Before the calls for help were finally answered, the city of Rye had one police boat that night that they used to pull Chelsea and her family to safety.
No words for when you see a rescue team come get you. And you know I can put my kids in that boat. They're going to be okay.
Chelsea and her three kids are counting their blessings, grateful that they're all safe, especially little Ophelia, who has a message for those brave firefighters who saved her life.
I say, I love you.
Chelsea and her three girls are hoping to move back inside their home at some point. In the meantime, the community here in Rye has set up a GoFundMe page to help them with a whole list of damage, from plumbing to electrical work to checking to see if there's any structural or mold damage. And if there's any of that, they won't be moving back inside this home ever. We're in Rye. Richard Giacobas, Fox 5 News.